What is up, fellows? Thanks for tuning in today and welcome to a new mixing guide. Today we're going for some good old classics. Sound of Metallica's Master of Puppets album, which is pretty nice example of old school metal production. So grab your 86, grab your old school, maybe some wah-wah pedal if you have one. Sit back, relax, and let's do the shit. Speaking of guitars, I use simple double track here, which means that we have two guitar tracks, panned left and right. You can see panning and level settings in the name of them shits. Just as always, both based on the same processing model, so we'll go for only one of them. Let's take a listen. First plugin and chain is Virtual Guitar Processor Revolver 4th, which we're gonna use to get pedal and amp distortion. Let's take a look. Very first thing here is Input Mixer, where you can set up pickup RMS and input gain. I come up with these settings. I also have this gate activated to get rid of unwanted noises where guitar doesn't play anything. Speaking of pedal board, we have simple screamer pedal, which adds tiny bit of distortion to the sound and helps to keep distortion of amp more stable and heavy. And now actual amplifier. This time we're going for Michael ACM 900. I bet you'll catch the reference. To be honest, I fucked up with trying to be true cult with this Marshall shit. Metallica used Mesa Boogie Mark C Plus amp rewired as a preamp and Marshall 100 watt power amp, while I using 50 watt version of it, which is obviously not so heavy. That's why we have pretty much sensitivity which is similar to gain knob on other amps and pretty extreme amounts of master and volume knobs, which is some kind of power amp gain to crank the shit out of them power tubes. Speaking of tone stack, I come up with mid-focus settings. You can see it right here. Just as always, lots of shit happens behind the shits. I mean detailed tweaking of amp schematics, same thing with pedal. I don't want to spend your time doing long-ass review of each tube, diodes and other science shits. But at the same time it's very important part of this patch which can create dramatic difference. So check this out. I will put this Revolver 4 preset at the additional files so you can use the shit. There you will also find individual module presets which can be applied by going to load menu. So yeah, no post FX, output section seems to be bypassed as well. Keep your eye on gain adjust, be sure to use exact same amount to keep same levels of guitars in the mix. So that's pretty much it for Revolver. You can see that I turned off internal impulse loader, because we're gonna use my custom mix ready impulse using K-Fire impulse loader. Check this shit. Just as always you will find this one at the additional files pack for this guide. And before we'll finally go for bus processing, Let me show you one more thing. I know that most of you all who follow my templates being forced to buy 6505 module, because I use this shit all the time, and because of the fact that we used different head. I still don't want to force you to spend more money on module which you probably don't even need. That's why I made 2 additional guitar patches. First one is for 6505 and second one with free plugins only, just in case if you don't have Revolver 4 at all. Each patch have custom impulse response to provide almost perfect copy of the main one without timbre differences. So check the shit. I made 3 copy of the same DI for each patch, so you can compare them and see that there is almost no any difference in sound. So let's have a short look at them settings of them shit starting from 6505. I used same settings and schematics tweaking for Screamer. And speaking of 6505, I come up with these settings. Matter fact, there was no any schematics changes here, so if you want it to sound same way, just click on this empty space of amps and cabs window, choose 6505 head and apply same settings. Input and output gain is now a bit different. Mix ready impulse right after. Keep your eyes on name of an amp in the name of the shit, this way you can be sure to use correct impulse for each patch. They are not the same thing. Speaking of LE456 patch, here's the settings of everything. We're done with patches, so let's go back to the main guitars. Both of them routed to GTR bus. First thing in chain is Valhalla room to make our guitars that awesome roomy style of sounding. If you ever listen to the stems of this album, you can get the idea. Not sure if it was additional room mic or simply lots of natural room reverb in the guitars, but this way we kind of get closer to that. Plus it helps to glue them guitars together. And last thing here is this subtle cut around 150 Hz. There is pretty ringy low end resonance here, you can hear it pretty clear on palm mutes. It probably could be dropped even lower, but at the same time, original version of the song have this low-end resonances as well, that's why I decided to keep it, but it's all up to you. Deeper cut will provide cleaner sounds, so go for it if you want to. After all the processing, this bus goes to master bus where it will sums up with other parts of mix. Speaking of bass, we're gonna go for the virtual one and you'll already know what I'm talking about. So here we have Trillion, and this time it's based on clean Fender full range library. Because of the fact that Cliff's bass tone is pretty clean and have some sort of distortion over it, I decided to go for internal processing in Trillion, that's why we have amp level with this amount. Here's rest of them amounts. Speaking of FX section, I boosted 8 kHz zone, and that's the only change I did here. On the AFX section, I added flame distortion to get that smooth drive. Check this out. Glow mode. Pretty subtle amount of mix. And here is rest of them settings. What we have outside is Keyfire with custom impulse to match Trillion with Cliff's bass tone. Right after I have Black 76 compressor by T-Rax with about 1 decibel of compression. Even though you can hear it becomes louder, it's mostly because of my lazy ass not compensated outcoming level of the shit, so keep that in mind. Actual compression is very subtle in this case. Next plugin, Pro C compressor in sidechain mode. Driven by kick and snare, it drops level of bass for a short period while them drums hits the shit. This way I get tiny bit of pulsation on the bass and it sits bit deeper in mix with drums. And very last thing in chain is NLS in Navo mode to get tiny bit of saturation. Notice that I use dual mono mode, which means that left and right channels is now processed by 2 different preamps of our virtual Neve console. Because of subtle difference between them, our bass moves out of the center and become tiny bit wider, which is pretty cool. By the way, you can see that plugin lies in post fader insert. They are marked with yellow color here. This means that after first 6 inserts, signal goes to fader and get -7 drop in volume, and then this dropped signal hits NLS. If replace this plugin in regular pre-fader zones, incoming signal won't be dropped anymore, so we get hotter input on NLS. As a result, more saturation and more total volume gain. Well, somehow it's not, probably because of low levels of this channel, but still, if you use another DAW and not sure you can handle these post-fader shits, simply turn this plugin off and replace it with any kind of trim plugin to add like a half or decibel of overall level and tiny bit of top end EQ. We're almost done here, so let me just give you a little tip about this shit. If you decide to replace this bass tone with your live bass, you can simply put some sort of distortion pedal to it, then record exact same bass track that I have here on MIDI, and once you did, use matching EQ to match timbre of our bass tone to yours and you're in. Add some compression over it and fine-tune the level, this way you can replace the shit and use the live one. Returning to Trillion, I have sent to Chamber Reverb FX channel here. Amount of reverb is pretty big, but it's mostly about natural space feeling and gluing it up with the drums. Speaking of routing, this channel is routed to master bus, pretty much the same story. Speaking of drums, we are gonna use Superior Drummer. Before we'll go for it, one little thing. It works in multi-out mode, which means that there is multiple output channels instead of one. In Cubase 5 you can't get it using simple option of add a new instrument. What you need to do is to press F11 button to open up VST Instruments menu, create new instrument, let it create new MIDI track for this instrument, then click at this icon and activate needed amount of output channels. So let's finally go for the sampler. This time I decided to go for internal processing and use one of them factory presets called Master of Justice, which is obviously exact what we need, because of the fact that this preset comes with Metal Foundry by default. I think it's okay if I'll do a quick run of them elements of the kit and settings of internal mixer, so check this out. What I actually changed here is alternate option for main kick drum, this way we force it to switch between two kicks automatically. And even though we don't have crazy double kick parts, we still make it tiny bit more live and natural. Another change is added bleed for kick drums. Speaking of rest of them bleed settings, here they are. So final thing here is routing. Keep your eyes on names on output section. If it says names like kick or snare, it means that mix routed to internal buses, where they get additional internal bus processing. And these buses finally routed to channels outside of Superior. So keep your eyes on this output section. As far as this preset is part of factory Metal Foundry presets, I think it's okay if I include updated version in the additional files pack, just in case if you don't want copy them manually or use different DAW. Speaking of routing outside of sampler, all of them channels are routed to drums bus where they get pretty extreme EQ correction and subtle compression, but we'll go for it later. You can see that I did additional rebalance of channels here, just to fine-tune amounts of each drum group in the mix. Speaking of processing, it's extremely simple, so let's check it out starting from kick. Here I reduced ringy low end resonance, 2 boxy zones on low and high mids, and boosted 9 kHz for brightness. Speaking of snare, there's subtle but wide drop of mids to make it more scooped, because I had a feeling that these mids jumped out a bit. Hi-hat. Here I dropped boxy mid-range zone and also did this timber shape on highs to make it brighter and less fizzy at the same time. Overheads. Very subtle drop of highs, probably doesn't make any sense in the mix but still. Here we also have this chamber FX channel, which is main reverb bus of this mix. And I know that we have Superior's chamber, but to me it sounds kind of weird, but at the same time I found that mixed with chamber FX bus, it sounds okay, while FX bus by itself sounds kind of boring when it comes to snare reverb. So it is what it is. Valhalla vintage verb based on small chamber preset. The only thing I changed here is coloring and decay of reverb. Post EQ to get rid of unwanted low end and make it more like Superior's one. This FX bus is routed to drums bus as well, so let's go for the shit. First thing here is matching EQ for automatic timbre correction of drums. To be honest, what I did is just used drum stems of Metallica and matched it with this drums bus. So if you look at the correction curve, you can notice that their end mids was really outstanding, while highs was too dark and there was not enough of low mids. This cut on 14 kHz has nothing to do with timbre correction. The thing is that I used low-resolution MP3 file for target timbre analysis. But at the same time I found that this cut is extremely useful in case of fizz coming from hi-hat, plus we getting rid of annoying clicky attack of kick. Check this out. To me it sounds much more all-round, focused, and drums now get some kind of vintage coloring, just saying. So speaking of this matching session, you will find it at the additional files pack as well. And right after we have Black 76 compressor based on one of them default presets. Main purpose of this plugin is to glue them drums together and make them more all-round in the mix. Check this out. So that's it for drums. After all this stuff, this bus goes to master bus. And before we'll finally go for it, take a look at them levels and panning settings of the mix one more time. So we finally get to the final stage. The reason I do my mastering on this bus instead of stereo out, is the ability to switch between my mix and reference file by one click of the mouse, while in other case I would need to turn off all master processing on stereo out to listen to the reference, which is not the fastest thing to do, so this way we can switch between two really quick and do more objective comparison without pauses in between. First thing in chain is NLS bus, also known as master bus preamp of the Neve 5116 console. So this one will smoothly saturate our mix and give it tiny bit more colors. Let's check that out. Second plugin is a Top Ozone 5 stereo imager module. We are gonna use this one to narrow stereo of the mix. What's great about this plugin is that it works in multi-band mode, so we can set up crossovers and choose amount of effect for each band independently. In this case I've had a feeling that guitars are a little bit too wide. So I use second and third bands to fix this problem. Got to say that it's probably could be done by narrowing panning of them channels or using this imager on the guitar bus, but at the same time amount of effect is pretty subtle, so it's okay to have it on master. Next plugin, Kramer Tape, which is emulation rare vintage 2-powered tape machine. There is few reasons I have it here. First and probably the main one, smoothing of highs. Notice that I use slow 7.5 inches per second tape speed. You can hear the effect pretty clear if listen to the hi-hat while I do comparison. You can hear that without the plugin, it sounds too bright, too in-face, so by using slow tape mode we solve this problem. But again, it's probably the only thing that gets affected by the plugin, so as an alternative, we could just use EQ on hi-hat and overheads channels to smoothen up that presence, but at the same time we don't really affect other parts of mix here on master, so it's okay. Another thing this plugin does is smooth tape saturation, which is this flux controller for. Next thing is automatic timbre correction using isotope ozone matching. So here I just matched my mix with reference, which was the thing that shouldn't be, by Metallica. Matter fact is I used to record exact same song, even though it was short part of it, but still. So each note, each drum hit from my recording was the same as the original song had. Then I scanned source timbre, which is my old mix, target timbre, which is Metallica's song, and then applied EQ correction by hitting this orange button. And yeah, you can see that thing on highs again, but to me it's mostly about how it sounds, not how it looks, and damn, it looks fucking weird, but still. And finally, last thing in chain is limiter. In case of this mix, it pushes the volume of the mix to the point where louder peak starts to get tiny bit of compression. It still have potential to gain like 2 or 3 additional decibels, but as I already said, I'm all about reference. Comparing to the original song, to me, it's almost the same in most of cases. I used all-round mode, which doesn't make any sense at all as far as we get so little gain reduction. Default settings of look ahead, attack and release. 5 decibels boost to move level of mix to the sweet spot of loudness wars, and minus 0.3 decibels on output, just to avoid of random clipping from drum hits. So that's pretty much it. For those of you who want to get additional files pack, which includes Cubase template, full pack of impulses used in this guide, pack of matching sessions for isotope ozone 5 EQ, pack of Pro Q presets, pack of presets for Revolver 4, and updated Superior Drummer preset. You will find all of them shits in my private post on Patreon, which will be available after pledging $1. By doing this you will also get access for rest of my private content and help me keep doing what I do. Link is in the description. So hope you learned thing or two from this guide. Thanks for watching and see you next time.